Welcome everybody to Aging in Stress. This is one of our core presentations that I've done many times over the last 11 plus years, and it's good. It's informative, and it just talks about the things that can happen and things that we might see going on in our lives as we age. And the stress that it can bring us. So, Natalie, if you want to bring up the PowerPoint, we can go ahead and get started.
There.
All right. Canadian Mental Health Association nationally was founded back in 1918. So we are now over 100 years for a not-profit charitable organization in Canada, which makes us one of the oldest ones in Canada. So it's very exciting to be part of that and seeing the change that we've gone through over the 100 years. And our, our purpose really is to help. Oh, can we go back a slide, please?
Sure.
Our purpose is really to help people access community resources that they need to build resilience and support their recovery in mental illness, and to let them know that there is hope, there's opportunity for hope, and there is hope. The next slide talks about where our offices are located. We have offices in Fredericton, Moncton, and St. John, and we have a fund development program that's provincial. We have the Community Education Coordinator Program, which is provincial. There are 11, like Natalie and myself. We would bring it up to 11, where we cover all the rural areas. So the office in Fredericton covers Greater Fredericton, Moncton covers Greater Moncton, St. John covers Greater St. John, and the other 11 of us community education coordinators cover all the rest of the province. We also have a Working Stronger Together program that helps people with mental illness get into the workplace. So with all of that said, we're fairly large. We are also running a peer support program through the government, which is being very helpful out there. So, and our third slide. All right. So I'll go ahead and start it off. Aging in stress. Today we're going to talk about how to deal with physical changes. So our bodies change physically, and we need to be able to be aware of how that affects us. How to deal with bereavement. As we age, we need to learn to deal with bereavement because it starts to happen maybe a little bit more than what it used to happen. And again, it brings a level of stress that we really need to be more aware of. How to deal with loneliness. It's probably one of the largest emotions that people feel as they age, is the loneliness, and for various reasons, and we'll talk about those. How to deal with retirement. For some people, my father was a perfect example. He's 83 now, wonderful man. He was retired at 65, but he kept going with part-time work until he turned 80. He just wasn't ready to let go yet. And so, it made him feel good and everything else. But again, it made a change when he did retire. So learning to come with the adjustments of retirement. How to live a healthy life. So we're going to touch briefly on what are the things that you can do to make sure that you're living as healthy as possible. And then to know your rights. As we age, we do have rights, and I think it's very important that we keep going with our rights as long as we're physically and mentally capable of. So, Natalie, I'll let you go with the next slide.
So, what are short-term symptoms of physical stress? We have things like dry mouth, cool skin, cold hands and feet, increased sweating, rapid breathing, a faster heart rate and tense muscles, feelings of nausea, butterflies in your stomach, diarrhea, a desire to urinate, feeling rushed. A lot of that kind of sounds like menopause, but that's how our bodies respond to stress. So when we ask what is stress, it's how our bodies respond to events and changes in our environment. It's wear and tear on our bodies. It's the way we react both physically and emotionally to all the changes that occur around us.
Like Natalie was just talking about the short-term symptoms of stress, when you're looking at short-term stress, it can also be a motivator. It can encourage us and motivate us to get up and get things done that we need to do. So it can be kind of viewed a little bit as a positive because it'll get us going and get us moving in a forward direction. However, when we look at the long-term symptoms of physical stress, these are the ones that really take a toll on our bodies. So insomnia. So we have trouble sleeping. So we're either having trouble falling asleep. So we could be awake for a long time and then maybe fall asleep at around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Or we could be falling asleep very quickly, but then we're dealing with waking up around 2 o'clock in the morning and then being awake until we get up. So insomnia certainly is one issue. The change in appetite. Change in appetite will either bring a decrease or an increase in appetite. And a decrease just meaning you have no appetite whatsoever. You don't even think about meals. You don't think about eating, none of that. Sexual disorders are certainly a part of it. So it would be a lack of emotional wanting and the physical wanting of it. Aches and pains. If you remember back a year or two ago, they used to have commercials on TV called depressionhurts.ca. And they would clearly identify, you could see where the person was hurting physically from aches and pains. That is true. I recently went through a depression and I had a lot of aches and pains. I don't know why that happens. I don't know, and I don't know if there's a real answer to it, but it certainly is related to it. So if somebody is dealing with depression or that kind of thing, and they say, you know, I'm really sore and I ache all over, and obviously muscle tension, those kinds of things are going to create some pains, some aches and pains, but it's really associated with it. Frequent colds. So our immune system is very, very low. And we tend to pick up everything that's going around. So the good habits that we're now creating about washing our hands a lot, that would be really good just to keep going. Because if we are dealing with a lot of stress, because we can pick up frequent colds, we can pick up those germs just about anywhere. So again, washing our hands is just really a good idea. Feelings of intense and long-term tiredness, absolutely, and that just works with the insomnia part. If you have insomnia and you're not sleeping very well or very much or both, obviously it's going to have some real strong effects on you for being tired. And when we're very tired, overtired, mentally and emotionally, we're not as capable of dealing with stress as we normally would be. So we might cry easier, we might get upset easier, this kind of thing. And it makes us more prone to illness. So we tend to pick up more things. Natalie?
Yeah, so without proper rest, exercise, and diet, and as we age, those things want to go by the wayside. We have to work really hard at maintaining those things, or we do end up with the colds, really tired, and just pick up everything that comes around. Reality says, as we grow older, our bodies naturally change. Whether we like it or not, that's reality. Not quite as perky as I once was. So we need to accept reality. We need to, let's say, age gracefully and do the things that we need to do in order to stay well, like keeping a positive attitude. Our attitudes affect so much in our lives, whether we view the cup as half full or half empty. We want to have regular doctor visits. We want to be careful about our medications. Make sure we're taking them the right way, the right time. Make sure we're taking them. especially for those of us whose memories may not be so good. Maybe we can schedule them, have some sort of method that we remember to take them. We need to take responsibility for our own health. We can change our eating habits. So if we're struggling to remember to eat, even schedule that. Make wise choices in what you're eating. If we're eating too frequently, snacking all the time, let's be careful about what we're putting in our mouths and drink less alcohol. Your body will have more difficulty coping with it as we mature. Let's call it maturing.
And I just wanted to add to the comment about drinking less alcohol. I really believe too, as we age, some of us will start taking medications. And I think that the concern is mixing the alcohol with certain medications.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always very important that you read the labels on your medications, especially your new ones that you get. And if it recommends that you do not drink alcohol, and it will have that sticker on there if it's not good to do that, then just to be more aware of it. So I really think the purpose of having that comment in there is because some of us tend to have medications as we age. And it's just to make sure that we're not mixing, the two of them when we shouldn't be. So dealing with bereavement, that's a tough one. And it's hard. It's really hard. But it's extremely important that we recognize that there's a process that we need to go through and we need to do it. So the first thing, don't deny your feelings. If you're feeling sad, feel sad. If you're feeling angry, feel angry. And if you're feeling lonely, that's understandable too. We get that. Those are all the stages of bereavement, and you're going to feel some different feelings. It's also important to remember that from one person to another, they're going to feel feelings differently from somebody else. They may be more powerful, stronger feelings, or they may be a lot milder feelings. A person may not be able to control themselves and in public, express that emotionally and mentally, and perhaps even physically, where other people will wait till they're behind a closed door and then they'll feel their feelings then. So however you choose to do that, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. Accept the range of emotions that you're going to feel. So like I said, you might be going through the loss of your spouse and be feeling certain feelings and be very sad and feel lonely and scared. And then your son comes over and he's smiling and he's happy. Understand that perhaps he's putting that front out to try to be there for you, to support you. It's not saying that he's not feeling the feelings too. And remember that we do feel things differently from one person to another. Remember and talk about the deceased person. That's extremely important. If we never talk about them or think about them, it's like they didn't exist, and they did exist. We want to celebrate their lives. We don't want to focus on the fact that they're gone. We want to celebrate and remember all the good things of when they were with us. So it's very important to talk about that person and to laugh and to cry and to remember that person. And I think it really helps with the grieving process. Look to your family and friends for support, especially if it's your spouse that you lost. Your children are grieving the loss of a parent. So they would want to support you, but they may be scared to bring it up because they think maybe, well, mom's having a good day, so I don't want to talk about dad today and make her feel sad. Or I don't want to talk to dad today about mom because I don't want him to get all melancholy and everything else because he's been doing really good lately. And I think it's very important that everybody remember that we just need to lean on each other and support each other. So maybe one day I'm having a good day, but one of my kids is not having a great day. So I'm in a position where I can help lift them up. So remember that. And be supportive of those who have suffered a loss. If I've lost my spouse and a couple of years later, a good friend of mine or my sister or somebody else loses a spouse, I can reach out to them and say, I understand. I understand. If you want to talk, I certainly want to listen. So you're reaching out to them and you're talking from experience. You went through it now. It may be different than what they'll go through, but at least you know where they're coming from and you have an idea of the amount of pain that they're feeling. So you can reach out and be a bit of a support, even just be a listener. That's so huge and so important to listen, to understand, and you'll see the value in that. Natalie?
So dealing with loneliness. Now, bearing in mind that everybody likes to be alone from time to time, being alone against your own free will doesn't feel good. It makes you feel like you're losing your sense of purpose, maybe losing your self-worth, that you're not important enough to be around. We need people. We need each other. So stay active and look for new social contacts. Maybe join a swimming club or, something in your neighborhood that appeals to you, that you're going to make new contacts and perhaps some new friends. Very young children can brighten up your life. What is more contagious than a child laughing? And emotions can be contagious. So when you're around somebody who's laughing or having a good time, it naturally makes you want to laugh and have a good time. And learn to recognize and deal with your signs of depression. Too much loneliness can lead to depression. Be aware of when you're beginning to feel down, when things aren't just quite what they once were. And if you start to recognize this, take steps. Go visit your family physician. Go see somebody. Talk to somebody. Don't do it alone.
Dealing with retirement. Make a list of your abilities and skills. And here's the reason why. For an example, we are a not-for-profit charitable organization. And if we had a senior person walk in and say, I was an accountant for 40 years before I retired, I just wonder if there's things that I could do to help. Oh, wow. That would be huge to a not-for-profit charitable organization. You have a lot of skills and abilities, and a lot of them are transferable. So because you had these skills and abilities for this particular organization or type of business, doesn't mean you can't take them and transfer them to another. So it's extremely important that you're aware of what you can offer. Just because you hit 65 and the company you were working for said it's time to go, doesn't mean you have to go. It's up to you. So enrich your life by renewing contacts with neglected family members and old friends. Sometimes life gets really, really busy, and we tend to not forget about, but I guess they sort of get pushed aside in our memories, in our thoughts, our everyday thoughts, when we don't see them on a regular basis. And after enough time, we really do have a separation. But all of a sudden, we find ourselves with time again, and with technology today being so huge and so accessible to everybody, it's a really great opportunity to reconnect with people. I have a cousin that lives in British Columbia, way out on the coast. And I mean, I get to see her maybe every 5 or 6 years, but we stay connected through Facebook and, through texting and all these different things. And it's so fun. It's brought her back into my life. And it's really, really important to me and to her that we are able to do that. Renew your interest in the hobbies and the activities you enjoy. What I find we do a lot is if we get really, really busy, we're struggling for enough time to get done the things that we need to get done. We tend to take that time away from things that we enjoy and our hobbies and things that we love to do. We steal little pockets of time here and there. So we find ourselves doing more of the stuff that we have to do and less and less and less of the things that we love to do. We need passion in our lives. We need passion. We need to know that it's not all work and no play. There needs to be something that we're doing on a regular basis that makes us feel really good. So that's our opportunity to look at hobbies, things that we used to do, activities that we did that used to bring us a lot of pleasure. It brought us fun, laughter. It brought us friendships and all that kind of stuff. So now's the opportunity to pull that stuff back into your life again, renew those things and get back at it, and then discover some new activities and things that you can participate in. Like, I can't wait to try out this new pickleball stuff. I keep hearing about these pickleball clubs and they sound amazingly fun. So looking forward to maybe something like that. And then if you can afford it, travel. It's so fun just to be able to spread your wings, go places where you maybe only read about or watched on TV that you kind of kept thinking, I'd love to go there. I'd love to go there someday. Make those somedays come true. If you can afford it, take a little trip, obviously now and then, not right now, but soon all of that will get back to normal and we'll be able to do some travel again. And I think it's important if you can afford to do it and you enjoy it, then I think you should do it. Maybe that's what your passion is. Natalie.
Before we turn the slide, I have a burning question I need to know. What's a pickleball?
Pickleball is a form of tennis, but it's played much closer to the net. You have two teams of 2 players each, and it's done with a racket and but like a handheld, more like a pallet, a wooden racket kind of thing, and a tennis ball. And anyway, it looks really fun. I just watched it once briefly. I was on my way to a presentation and they were playing it on the court next to the building that I was going into. So I quickly watched and I thought, oh my God, that looks fun. So I'm a huge tennis fan. So for me, that was like, oh, wow. And I'd love to be able to do it. So you're not hitting as far and you're not running as much and all that kind of stuff. So
very good. Something to Google. Gotcha.
There.
So healthy living. Rest. Okay, now this is going to be a big deal if we're dealing with insomnia. But the requirement really says get a minimum being the optimum word here, of 6 hours of continuous rest. Exercise at least 20 minutes 5 times a week. I say break a sweat. Because when you break a sweat, you're releasing endorphins. Endorphins are the feel-good chemical in our brains that they just make us feel better. So communicate. Talk to somebody that you trust, somebody that you have a connection with. Like Denise was saying, she connected with her cousin from out west. That's a connection that she has, somebody that she feels safe with. And we can talk to people in all different ways. Face-to-face is lovely. But when we don't have face-to-face, you know what? My best friend lives in Nova Scotia, an 8-hour drive from me. We talk on the phone frequently. She's the person we can vent to. It's great. So organization. Make an increased effort to organize your life. And we're all stuck in the house right now. Now's a good time to organize our lives. Don't be afraid or too shy to ask for help. At this point, it would have to be from other family members in the house. That whole social distancing thing. And delegating things when we need to. We won't always be stuck in the house. There's going to come a time when we can reach out and ask for help again. And play therapy. Fill your life with fun things. Things that you like to do. Like maybe pickleball or something else that's fun, something you really enjoy. I thoroughly enjoy the adult coloring. It's not a lot of exercise, but it totally exercises my mind. And life balance. So take charge of your life. Act appropriately. Don't simply react to stressful situations. The goal is to act, not react. Formulate a plan in your mind and find balance in all that you do.
And you have a right to. You have a right to be treated with respect. Sometimes older people, seniors, we feel that we're kind of getting pushed aside, or that people don't value our opinions or our knowledge as much as what we might like them to, or we feel a little slighted, we have a right to be treated with respect. But that goes for everybody. Everybody has a right to be treated with respect. So I think it's extremely important, if you're being treated with disrespect, I think you need to stand up for yourself, and you need to speak up and say, you know, I'm respecting you. I would appreciate you respecting me back. It's very, very important. Ask for the things that you need. If you need help getting the bathroom cleaned, goodness gracious, take the time and ask for the help. That's what it's, you know, I often say to my mom, you've cleaned the bathroom for 80 years. It's okay now to ask somebody else to come in and do that for you if it's going to help you feel better. Now, it'll take her a little while to get used to that happening. However, it's still very beneficial to her to have it happen. Making choices. I strongly advocate that as long as you're able to make your own choices, to continue making your choices. But take the time to think things out. Don't feel like you're under pressure. You know, if your son comes in and says, well, we found a nursing home, but we've only got 24 hours to make a decision, so you got to tell me now. Don't feel pressured into having to make choices and decisions too quickly. If your spouse passes, don't feel the pressure to have to sell the house right away. If you can afford to keep the house for a little while, it's a good idea to keep it for a little while, because you may find that you, after your grieving is over, or through the grieving process, you might find that you actually still enjoy living where you're at. Say no and don't feel guilty. I think that's very important, especially with perhaps being asked on a regular basis to babysit the grandkids, those kinds of things. Say no and don't feel guilty. You brought up your family. You have a right now to your freedom and to the things that you want to do. Don't worry about, you know, oh, well, if I don't keep the kids, then they're going to be stuck. They won't be able to go out. They'll find somebody else to keep the kids. I think it's extremely important that you just learn to say no and not feel guilty about it, because that's probably one of the greatest things that people struggle with, is saying no and then feeling the guilt. But the most important thing, I think, of all is that you have the right to have fun. You have the right to laughter. You have the right to comedy. You have the right to getting out and going for a walk, if that's what makes you feel good. Whatever it takes to make you feel good. I often will remind seniors about some of the Carol Burnett shows, and with Tim Conway. He was one of the funniest people that there ever was. And there's a scene that he does called The Dentist, and he's treating his first patient, which is Harvey Korman. It's got to be one of the funniest things I have ever seen in my life. So I'll tell people, you know, if you're feeling blah, if you're feeling down or whatever, pull it up on you know, just Google it on YouTube, on your computer, just Google it. And Tim Conway, the dentist, and it'll come up, and you can sit and you can watch the video, the script. It's 10, 12 minutes long, and it's hilarious. You know, so find ways to make sure that you feel good and you feel some self-worth and you feel confident, you're having fun and you're enjoying life, because that's what it's all about. We get one shot at this, and we need to make sure that we're getting the best out of it that we can possibly get. So. Nat?
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the screen.
Okay. Well, it looks like there's no questions. So I want to thank you all for coming. It was a pleasure for us to be able to speak with you. This is new. We don't normally do presentations this way, but like everything else, it's an opportunity to learn new skills and to develop new ways of reaching out to the communities that we serve. It was our absolute pleasure today to be here and to share some time with you, and we look forward to doing it some more. So thank you. Be safe.